Here on Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. We're on a 100-city tour, broadcasting now from the Roundhouse. That's the state capitol building in Santa Fe, New Mexico. As we turn to the first anniversary of the death of Samuel Harrell, an African-American man who died April 21st, 2015, a year ago, after as many as 20 corrections officers kicked, punched, and threw him down a flight of stairs while he was incarcerated at the Fishkill Correctional Facility in Beacon, New York. An autopsy report obtained by the New York Times determined Harrell's death was a homicide caused by a physical altercation with corrections officers. Some of the officers were known around the prison as the beat-up squad. Officers then called an ambulance and told the medical crew Harrell may have overdosed on synthetic marijuana known as K2. Harrell died that night in a nearby hospital. The autopsy showed he had no illicit drugs in his system. A few weeks after Samuel Harrell's death was reported by the New York Times, the superintendent at Fishkill, William Connolly, abruptly resigned. Both the Dutchess County District Attorney's Office and the U.S. District Attorney's Office have launched investigations into the case, but more than a year later, no one has been charged in Samuel Harrell's death, and the correction officers involved in the assault are still working at the prison. This weekend, family members and friends of Samuel Harrell launched a 5-day vigil and hunger strike to demand action. At a vigil near the prison Sunday, his sister Sarissa spoke out.
Me and my family and some friends decided to do a hunger strike. The reason for the hunger strike is to give up. We're willing to not eat, to give, to get something in return. And what we want in return is justice. It's been a year. Nothing has happened. Does it hurt? It hurts a lot. Do I think about it? Every day. Do I forget about him? Never. Justice would mean so much to me right now. Them COs are still working, just living their life, just like it's just nothing. Like they did nothing. Like they didn't take somebody else's life or a part of somebody's family and just threw it away.
For more, we're joined by Sam Harrell's father, Samuel, and his sister, Sarissa. We're also joined by Sophia Elijah, Executive Director of the Correctional Association, which monitors conditions in New York State prisons. All three were on this hunger strike. We welcome you all to Democracy Now! Sarissa, let us begin with you. Why you came to New York and the significance of this anniversary of your brother's death, what you want to see happen right now.
Well, thank you for having me. The significance of my brother's death, I would like to see, justice be brought for him. Those guards to be put on administrative leave, like they shouldn't be able to continue working and torturing other people while, the investigation is still going. Getting the justice that we need, like the conclusion of this would mean a lot. It shouldn't have to take a year for them to make a decision, when a life is taken. It shouldn't have to take a year for those guards to continue to work while we have to suffer and be reminded every day of, my brother's not here. I don't get phone calls anymore. It's just heartbreaking that, it takes so long to get change done. When you see wrongdoings, it should just happen automatically. Wrong is wrong and right is right.
Sam Harrell, talk about your son and what you understand happened on April 21st last year.
Well, I'm grateful for being here today and thank everyone for allowing us to speak as a family. I wish for everyone to realize that it's been a hard year, but through it all, we continue to maintain our struggle and, sticking together and loving one another. Speaking about my youngest son, little Sam, whom I named after me, I miss him very much, to the point that it's very painful just to imagine the last seconds of his life as he was trying to hold on and to do his time and serve it out and to come home. We had plans, we had things that we wanted to still accomplish together. But what happened to him is really a tragic ending, and it's really hard to really visualize it or to think about it at times as life goes on without him being here. But as we go on day by day now, there's still a struggle for the innocents, struggle to have a reform reproved, and things that we would like to see happen within the system so that something like this would never happen again to another family.
Sarissa, you received a call from another prisoner last year on April 21st?
Yes, ma'am.
What did that prisoner say to you?
He called, and I answered it, expecting it to be my brother. And when I heard the voice, I'm like, who is this? And he's just like, listen to me. And I'm like, okay. Then he's like, Sam, something happened to Sam. And I'm like, they call him J-Rock. That's his nickname. So I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, the guards, he was like, he got hit by the guards and you need to call the jail. I'm like, call the jail? I'm like, well, is he hurt? And they was like, he was like, I don't know, just call the jail. They took him and he hasn't came back. Nobody's seen him. Nobody's heard anything. So just call the jail. And I'm like, okay, who is this? And he hung up. And I called his wife, Diane Harrell. I called her immediately because that's his emergency contact. So when I called her and I told her, I'm like, we got to call and then we're going to go visit him. And she's like, all right. And not even 10 minutes after I spoke to her, she called me back and told me that they called her and told her that he was gone. And I'm like, gone? Where? She was like, he's dead. And I'm like, he's dead? And I just, I just lost it. Like, what do you mean he's dead? Like, those words I would never. He just turned 30, December 18th. I turned 31, December 7th. We just seen him that Saturday. I just spoke to him that Sunday, and I was expecting him to call me back that Monday, and he didn't. And I was just devastated. Like, I'm never going to hear his voice again. Like, we've never been apart. We've never been apart except for when he got caught up, when he got in trouble and went to jail. We were like twins. We're a year and 11 days apart. We've never been apart. So to know that I have to live the next however many years that I'm on this earth without him is very painful. I have an older brother, but we're used to saying 3. It's still 3, but physically it's 2 now, and it hurts. It hurts a lot. And to know that we haven't heard anything, we're just waiting.
Sarissa, I want to ask your dad. I want to ask Sam Harrell about your son suffering from bipolar disorder. They said he'd packed his bags that night and he said he was going home. Can you explain, and also the way the local media covered this, talking about there was a fight, but Was your son handcuffed through this beating?
Yes, he was handcuffed. Prior to that, I believe there was some type of isolation, some type of punishment that they were sending him through for a number of days. He was detained in, I believe they have some type of solitary confinement known as the SHU, where they put incarcerated men for periods of days that I see to be really horrendous. I had a chance to witness what it was like. I saw it myself. I went inside, and it's horrible. I also realized that what led up to, once he was released out of this solitary confinement, that his mental health, he was suffering, and due to the lack of medical attention, which I really wish that they would have had called immediately once they had taken him out, realizing that he was making a phone call to my daughter here saying that he was coming home, which we all knew that he was still incarcerated, but to him, I'm thinking he was thinking that it was, his time was up. Clearly, in that instance, anyone with some type of training, any type of training, would realize that we should get him to medical attention immediately. And instead, I heard that they called the COs over, and there were a gang of them. There was a lot of them, and what happened from there was that they didn't handle it properly, according to, I feel, according to the way they policies and procedures should have been taken, and he was handled viciously, handcuffed, kicked, thrown downstairs. It was just horrendous. It was terrible, and to the point where I'm sure he was about to give up, and felt all alone, where no one was, the people that were supposed to be watching over him were just taking full advantage of torturing him, and it ended his life.
I wanted to bring Sophia Elijah into this conversation with the Correctional Association of New York. If you could explain what your group is, but also why you too participated in this hunger strike that you all just ended last night. If you could talk about where Sam Harrell was held, the particular prison, and who this beat-up squad is.
Yes, thank you, Amy. Thanks for having me. I head the Correctional Association of New York, which is an independent not-for-profit organization, 171 years old, that has a legislative mandate unique to it to monitor the conditions in the prisons throughout New York State. We have focused our attention on Fishkill and the issue of violence and abuse throughout the New York State system, because what happened to Mr. Harrell, sadly, is not uncommon. It has happened many, many times. I participated in the fast with the Harrell family, and in memory also of Carl Taylor, who was murdered not long before Mr. Harrell at the Sullivan facility on April 13th of 2015. There are beat-up squads not only at Fishkill, but at many other facilities, including Clinton and including Attica, and as I said, other facilities. So Mr. Taylor and Mr. Harrell were handcuffed and beaten viciously by a group of guards and beaten until they died from those horrific beatings.
We're talking to Sophia Elijah, Correctional Association of New York. Talk further about what you understand took place and how it is that all these officers are still working in this prison.
I've been informed that Mr. Harrell was attacked by a group of guards, as his father explained, after he indicated that he wanted to go home, and that he was going home. And similarly, Mr. Taylor was attacked by a group of guards on April 13th. And this is what happens throughout the New York State system, in prison after prison. And the guards do this with impunity. The way that the union contract protects them allows them to do these acts of viciousness and violating people's human rights. And the administration has very little at its disposal in order to discipline them. The contract for the union is actually under negotiation right now, and my organization and other advocates have called for radical changes in this union contract so that these guards cannot continue to beat and abuse people and murder people with impunity. The guards that beat Mr. Harrell, the guards who beat Mr. Taylor, and so many others are continuing to work in the corrections system despite their violations and their crimes against people.
Can you talk more about the 3 to 11 shift? The shift of correction officers that killed Sam?
The 3 to 11 shift we have found at the Correctional Association is the time period where the majority of these atrocities happen. And that is because the superintendent and the rest of the administrators leave the facility around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then the 3 to 11 shift is free to do its dirty work against the population, and there's no retribution for their actions. So many of the atrocities that we learn about happen between 3 to 11 in the evening. And I can assure you that probably tonight, between 3 to 11, somebody, someplace in the New York State system, whether they're in a men's facility or also in a women's facility, will be beaten viciously like Mr. Harrell and Mr. Taylor were.
Samuel Harrell had bipolar disorder. Can you talk about how people with mental illness are dealt with in the prison and how he was dealt with? I mean, you have the reports in the New York Times and other places of Sam being very depressed that day, of just staring at the TV, of his friends, other inmates asking if he was okay, if he wanted to talk. His mom had just recently died.
When people have mental health challenges, they need to be placed in a therapeutic setting. And there's nothing therapeutic about putting someone in a cage. And Mr. Harrell had recently come out of solitary confinement. And I should explain that the Correctional Association and other advocacy groups were successful a few years ago in getting a law passed called the Shoe Exclusion Bill. And that mandated that people who had serious mental health diagnoses should not be placed in solitary confinement, specifically because of the harms that scientific evidence showed that people suffered from being placed in solitary confinement. Solitary confinement harms everyone, but it takes particular effect on people who have mental health challenges. And so Mr. Harrell should not have been placed in solitary confinement because of his mental health challenges. Same holds true for Mr. Taylor and many, many other people. We, as a society, need to stop placing people who have mental health challenges in prisons because they are not going to thrive.
Finally, Sarisa Harrell, a sister of Samuel Harrell, you finished your hunger strike last night. You're leaving New York. What are you calling for? What do you want to see happen?
What I would like to see happen, number one, those guards being accountable for their actions like any other citizen of any state would be charged. Secondly, I would like to see body cameras being used in the correctional facilities. Thirdly, I would like to see guards getting better training for de-escalating situations and dealing with people with mental illnesses. I believe it would change a lot. It would change a lot of things that's going on in there. And if those things could, get done, I think it could change a little part of a big problem. that's just a little part. It's a lot more that needs to happen too, but that's just something that we had to deal with as my family. So that's the part that I would like to start with, you know, as a whole. So if we can get that done, I think, you know, the prison system will be it will be all right. You know, they'll go in there and be able to come out rehabilitated instead of scared or dead, not making it at all. Like, it just...
Well, Sarissa and Sam Harrell, I want to thank you so much for being with us. Also, our condolences. And Sophia Elijah of the Correctional Association of New York. We will continue to follow the case of Samuel Harrell, who was killed April 21st, 2015, in the Fishkill prison in Beacon, New York, by corrections guards.